Dusk falls early during Boston winters. Caroline Bradley gazed out the window of the historic mansion she had inherited from her grandfather Walter. Snow had begun to flutter down, and the street lamps were lighting up one by one. Caroline was gaining recognition for her talent in architectural design. Her fingertips traced the intricate woodwork of the window frame as memories of her grandfather flooded her heart. Walter was a craftsman who paid attention to every detail. His soul is embedded in this house. Caroline recalled her grandfather's words and smiled. Walter Bradley, who had passed away 3 years ago, was known as one of Boston's foremost real estate tycoons. Beyond his reputation as a wealthy man, he possessed a profound appreciation and aesthetic sense for architecture. Only his granddaughter Caroline had inherited that passion. The doorbell rang, and Caroline checked the time. It seemed her mother and sister had arrived right on schedule. She took a deep breath and prepared to welcome them. "Caroline, why on earth are you living in this old house in this cold weather? You should sell it and move to a condominium," Eleanor said, kissing her daughter's cheek while critically surveying the living room as she removed her coat. "Mom, are we having this conversation again?" "This house is special to me," Caroline replied quietly. "Oh. A new hairstyle?" "It's passable, I suppose," Vanessa said as she swept dramatically into the room. She was a popular social media influencer, with her flashy lifestyle enthusiastically supported by hundreds of thousands of followers. Tonight too, she was dressed in designer brands, proudly flashing the ring on her left hand. "Thank you. You always look perfect," Caroline responded calmly. She was used to Vanessa's constant sarcasm. "Where's James?" Eleanor asked. "He has a meeting. But he sends his love to everyone," Vanessa said as she settled onto the sofa and began checking her smartphone. "Oh, I got a reply from the wedding venue. That resort in the Bahamas we were on the waiting list for might miraculously become available." "That's wonderful," Eleanor exclaimed joyfully. "James will make such a good son-in-law. Not only is he successful as an investment advisor, but he's trying to make all of Vanessa's dreams come true." Caroline brought a wine bottle and glasses from the kitchen. "Let's have a toast," she suggested quietly. "Tomorrow I'm leaving for Milan to participate in an international architectural competition for 6 weeks. Another business trip?" Vanessa looked up, glancing down at her sister. "Always working and no boyfriend. Aren't you lonely?" Eleanor nudged her daughter's elbow. "A career is important, but you need to think about your future like Vanessa. You won't be young forever." Caroline poured red wine into the glasses, letting the comment slide off her. "We've just chosen different paths." "Well, dinner is ready." At the table, Vanessa was animated about her wedding plans. The extravagant ceremony in the Bahamas custom-made dress, the private yacht tour for the honeymoon. Eleanor nodded at her daughter's plans, occasionally asking with concern, "But what about the cost?" "James said he'll pay for everything. He just successfully closed a huge deal," Vanessa answered proudly. Caroline silently listened to their conversation. She had only met James Weston a few times, but she couldn't help feeling that there was something untrustworthy about him. There seemed to be a shadow in his eyes, as if he were hiding something. Toward the end of the meal, Eleanor turned to Caroline. "By the way, I wanted to talk about Walter's inheritance." Caroline put down her chopsticks and stared at her mother. "About what?" "This house. It's far too big for just you. Shouldn't we sell it and divide the proceeds among the family?" "Mom, you promised we wouldn't discuss this anymore," Caroline said in a quiet but firm tone. "Grandfather entrusted this house to me. His will is clear. But it's so unfair." Vanessa interjected. "If I had more money for my wedding." "It's already extravagant enough," Caroline cut her sister off. Eleanor sensed the tension rising between her daughters and changed the subject. "All right, let's not talk about that tonight. This is an evening to celebrate Caroline's trip." Caroline met her mother's gaze. There seemed to be something calculating lurking there. When dinner was over and she saw the two of them off, she was struck by an uneasy premonition. But she suppressed that feeling, needing to focus on the architectural competition. 3 days after Caroline had departed for Milan, Eleanor called Vanessa. It's time. She should be busy in Italy by now. Let's put our plan into action. The next morning, Eleanor and Vanessa stood in front of Caroline's house. They used the spare key that Caroline had given them for emergencies to enter. This house really is valuable, Vanessa remarked as she looked around the spacious living room. Her eyes gleamed with desire. We could easily get several $1,000,000 if we sell it. Eleanor gazed out the window and nodded. Prime location in Beacon Hill. Walter always had a good eye for real estate. She sighed. It's so unfair that he left this house to Caroline. She can't even make proper use of it, Vanessa snorted. It's too big for one person, and she has no sense of interior design. We deserve this house much more than she does. Eleanor checked her watch. The real estate agent will be here soon. Let's get ready. At exactly 10 o'clock, the doorbell rang. Eleanor opened the door with a confident smile. I'm Claire Daniels from Premium Realty, said a stylishly dressed woman, offering her business card. Eleanor Bradley. Please come in, Eleanor guided her inside. This is my daughter Vanessa. Thank you for coming today. Claire surveyed the interior of the house with a professional eye. It's a magnificent property. The Victorian features are well preserved. And the owner is my daughter Caroline, Eleanor answered smoothly. She's currently abroad on business, and I'll be handling the proceedings on her behalf. Claire frowned. It's unusual to proceed with a sale while the owner is absent. My daughter has given her full approval, Eleanor quickly said. She's a busy career woman and has entrusted these administrative matters to me. Even so, we'll need a power of attorney from the owner. Of course, I'll prepare that, Eleanor replied confidently. When Claire moved to another room to continue her assessment, Vanessa approached her mother. Power of attorney? What are we going to do? She whispered. Eleanor squeezed her daughter's hand reassuringly. Don't worry. I can perfectly forge Caroline's signature. Claire's assessment took nearly 3 hours. She examined every corner of the house, took photographs, and made notes. As expected, this property is extremely valuable, Claire finally concluded. In the current market, it could be listed between $3.75 million and $4 million. Vanessa gripped her mother's arm tightly. Eleanor's eyes also sparkled with excitement. Wonderful, Eleanor said in a composed voice. We'd like to sell as quickly as possible. Are you in a hurry? Claire asked. My daughter is moving to California for a new job, Eleanor lied perfectly. She said she wants to secure the funds quickly. Claire nodded. I understand. Once we have the power of attorney and necessary documents, we can put it on the market immediately. Properties in this area typically sell very quickly. After Claire left, Eleanor and Vanessa opened a bottle of champagne to celebrate. Success? Vanessa exclaimed excitedly. I need to call James and confirm our reservation in the Bahamas. Eleanor raised her glass. Let's finish everything before Caroline returns. She won't be able to stop us. That night, during dinner with James, Vanessa informed him of their progress. In a private room at an upscale restaurant, the two discussed their future over whiskey. They've appraised Caroline's house, Vanessa whispered. Almost $4 million. James's eyes lit up. Excellent. He lowered his voice. To be honest, the timing of this wedding is perfect. My recent investments haven't been going well. What? Vanessa's face clouded over. But you said you were successful. James took her hand. Of course, I'll be fine in the long run. It's just a temporary cash flow issue. Once your sister's house sells, everything will be resolved. Vanessa felt a moment of unease, but quickly regained her smile. Don't worry. Mom and I will handle it. The next day, Eleanor hosted a lunch gathering at her home. Surrounded by her close friends, she proudly boasted about her daughter's generosity. Caroline has decided to sell the house for the family's sake, Eleanor said, wine glass in hand. She's using it for Vanessa's wedding and my retirement fund. She's such a thoughtful child. Her friends nodded admiringly. Eleanor was intoxicated by her own lies. A week later, Claire called with news that a good buyer has been found. A wealthy couple from New York who intended to purchase immediately with cash. Wonderful. Eleanor's voice rose with excitement over the phone. I want to proceed with the contract as soon as possible. I'll bring the details of the offer tomorrow, Claire said. Have you prepared the power of attorney with the owner's signature? Of course, Eleanor replied, narrowing her eyes. That evening, Eleanor carefully forged Caroline's signature on the power of attorney document, using an old Christmas card with Caroline's signature as a reference. After practicing several times, she gazed with satisfaction at the completed document. Perfect. The next day, Eleanor and Vanessa reviewed the offer from the buyers with Claire at Caroline's house. $3.85 million, Claire said. That's an excellent offer in terms of market price. Vanessa gasped. It's selling so quickly. This is perfect, I can buy the finest dress now. Eleanor handed the forged power of attorney to Claire. This completes all the paperwork, doesn't it? Claire checked the document and nodded. All that's left is to sign the contract. The buyers want to finalize the contract next week. I'll explain to Caroline later, Eleanor murmured to Vanessa. She'll understand. After all, it's for the family. At the end of the week, Eleanor and Vanessa headed to the real estate company's office to sign the contract. Vanessa watched as her mother also forged Caroline's signature on the contract. Real estate agent Claire reviewed the contract and nodded with satisfaction. Everything will be completed in a few days. The new owners should be able to move in next week. Perfect. Vanessa said excitedly. Everything will be done before Caroline gets back. When Claire stepped out for a moment, Eleanor and Vanessa spoke in hushed tones. The buyers mentioned there might be a secret room in the walls when they viewed the house, Eleanor said. What a ridiculous idea. Vanessa laughed. There are no secrets in this house. Just money for our future. The two toasted, attempting to steal Caroline's precious house without her knowledge. Caroline's heart was soaring. Her innovative eco-design had won first prize at the International Architectural Competition in Milan, marking a major turning point in her career. The dawn view of Boston from the airplane window looked more beautiful than ever. Congratulations, Miss Bradley. Your victory at the competition is impressive, the taxi driver smiled at Caroline in the back seat. Her achievement had apparently been featured in the local paper. Thank you, Caroline returned a tired smile. I can't wait to get home. However, when the taxi turned onto her street, Caroline's expression froze. An unfamiliar sign stood on the lawn in front of her house. The words "for sale" gleamed in the sunlight. What is this? Caroline was at a loss for words. As the taxi stopped, she quickly grabbed her luggage and rushed to the entrance. Her hand trembled as she inserted the key. When she opened the door, she heard her mother and sister's voices coming from inside. They were relaxing in the living room. Oh, Caroline. Eleanor looked up in surprise. You're back already? I thought you'd be in Italy for another week. The final presentation finished earlier than planned, Caroline said in a trembling voice. More importantly, explain this. Why is my house up for sale? Eleanor and Vanessa exchanged glances for a moment. Their faces showed not guilt but calculation. Welcome home, Eleanor rose from the sofa and said with a composed attitude. We need to talk. Talk? Caroline raised her voice. You put my house up for sale without my permission, and you say we need to talk? Eleanor stood before her daughter and responded calmly. Don't get emotional. This is for the good of the entire family. It's for your sister's wedding, Eleanor said matter-of-factly. You're not using it anyway, are you? It's a waste for just one person to have such a big house. What's the point of having a house when you're single? Vanessa interjected with a laugh. Be grateful. She lightly waved her fingers as if she were posting on social media. Caroline was shaking with anger but tried to remain calm. This is my house. Grandfather left it to me specifically. You can't sell it without my permission. Don't misunderstand, Eleanor folded her arms. We're just trying to share the assets fairly as a family. It was unfair of Walter to leave this house only to you. I have the legal rights, Caroline stated firmly. I will stop this sale. Eleanor gave a small laugh. It's too late, Caroline. Eleanor picked up a stack of documents from the coffee table and handed them to Caroline. The sale contract is already in progress. All the procedures will be completed in a few days. Caroline looked through the documents and with trembling hands opened the last page. There was indeed her signature. But she hadn't written it. You forged this. Caroline looked up and stared at her mother. You forged my signature? Eleanor shrugged. The house couldn't be sold without your approval. A little help was needed. This is criminal. Caroline's voice shook. Fraud, forgery, illegal transaction. You're being dramatic, Vanessa said, examining her nails. Thinking of family matters in legal terms. We're just trying to share. Share. Caroline said in disbelief. You're arbitrarily selling the house I inherited and trying to steal the money? James and I need money for our new life, Vanessa retorted. You've been promoted, so you can buy another house, can't you? Caroline held up the legal documents. I'm going to cancel this. I'll contact a lawyer and stop the sale. Eleanor stared at Caroline with cold eyes. A buyer has already been found. If you break the contract, they'll take legal action. Besides, the power of attorney was supposedly signed by you. If you deny that, you'll be an accomplice to fraud. An accomplice? When you forged it. But who can prove that? Eleanor challenged. Making a family dispute public would also affect the reputation of your new architectural firm. Caroline paced around the room. Her mind was in turmoil with panic and anger. The house her grandfather had loved, the house she herself had loved. The reality of losing it was approaching. Suddenly, Caroline stopped. Her expression changed, as if she had remembered something. Then, slowly, she smiled. Her mother and sister watched her with confused expressions. Caroline? Eleanor asked in a cautious voice. I understand, Caroline said quietly. I'll stop fighting. Really? Eleanor responded with a surprised look. I knew you didn't need this house after all, Vanessa said triumphantly. Caroline answered with a quiet smile. I just need time to prepare for moving. Please wait until the weekend. Mother and sister showed expressions of relief. Vanessa picked up her smartphone and began sending a message to James. Success? She gave up. Eleanor placed her hand on Caroline's shoulder. You've made the right decision, daughter. For the family. Caroline gently removed her mother's hand while quietly replying, yes, for the family. Neither Eleanor nor Vanessa noticed the gleam of determination in her eyes. As Caroline headed upstairs to her room, a plan was already forming in her head. Her grandfather Walter's last words echoed in her heart, only open it when necessary. The secret in the walls is there to protect you. Caroline smiled secretly. It was good that she had come home. There was still time. Her mother and sister thought she had given up easily, but that was a major miscalculation. She looked out the window. The for sale sign swayed in the wind. On a weekend morning, Caroline watched from the window as her mother and sister got into Vanessa's red convertible. They had said they were going to meet with the florist for the wedding. Caroline didn't move until the car disappeared around the corner. Silence enveloped the house. Caroline took a deep breath and made her way to the study. It was a room where her grandfather Walter had once spent many hours. She approached the bookshelf and reached for a section where various architectural books were lined up. Grandfather, the time has come to use your legacy. Caroline carefully removed several books, revealing a small lever hidden behind them. With a faint sound, a wall panel next to the bookshelf moved a few inches. She carefully inserted her fingers and pulled the panel. A small hidden room appeared from within the wall. Inside the room was an old wooden box and a large envelope. Caroline took them out with trembling hands. The wooden box had a complex keyhole, but Caroline removed the pendant she wore around her neck. It turned out to be the key. "I will always protect your precious things," Caroline murmured softly. When she inserted the key and turned it, the box slowly opened. Inside, hundreds of valuable stamps and coins were neatly arranged in transparent cases. Her grandfather's collection of many years. Though Caroline was not an expert, she understood these were extremely valuable. Next, she opened the envelope. Inside were a letter from her grandfather and multiple legal documents. Opening the letter, she was greeted by words written in Walter's handwriting. "Dear Caroline. If you are reading this letter, it means you need my final gift. I always believed in your talent and integrity. And I predicted that Eleanor and Vanessa might try to take the house from you. This house is legally yours alone. The attached documents are what you need to stop their attempts. I also entrust my collection to you. Use it when necessary. I am proud of you. From Grandfather." Tears welled up in Caroline's eyes. Her grandfather had truly understood her. He had also seen through her mother and sister's character. Checking the documents attached to the letter, she found legal certificates clearly showing the house belonged to Caroline alone, a supplementary will stating that Eleanor and Vanessa had no rights whatsoever, and most importantly, a legal authentication of Caroline's signature. With this authentication, she could prove her mother had forged the signature. Caroline immediately called lawyer Marcus Cohen. He was a trusted friend of her grandfather and knew Caroline's family situation well. "Marcus, it's an emergency. My mother and sister are trying to sell my house without my permission." "What?" Marcus's voice was filled with surprise over the phone. "They forged my signature and have already proceeded with the sale contract. That's clearly fraud. Let's file for an injunction in court immediately," Marcus declared. "Bring all the documents and come to the office right away." "Thank you, Marcus," Caroline expressed her gratitude. "One more thing. I'd like you to investigate something. James Weston, my sister's fiancé." "What kind of investigation?" "His financial situation. I feel like he's hiding something." After a moment of silence, Marcus replied, "I understand. I'll look into it." Caroline rushed to the law office with the wooden box and documents. Marcus reviewed the documents and quickly took action. Within hours, an emergency petition to the court was prepared. Thanks to Marcus's influence, the judge immediately issued a temporary restraining order. At the same time, Marcus's investigation team began looking into James's economic situation. The results were shocking. James Weston had been posing as a successful investment advisor, but in reality, he was millions of dollars in debt and had been deceiving clients with fraudulent investment schemes. "Now it all makes sense," Caroline sighed. "They needed my house not just for the wedding, but also to pay off James's debts." 3 days later, a meeting for the final contract was set at Premium Realty's office. Eleanor, Vanessa, James, the buyer couple, and real estate agent Claire had gathered. Just before signing the final contract, the door opened, and Caroline entered with lawyer Marcus. "Caroline?" Eleanor said with obvious agitation. "Why are you here?" "As the true owner of this house, I have a right to know, don't I?" Caroline answered in a calm voice. The room fell silent. Claire watched the situation with a confused expression. "What joke is this?" "You agreed," Vanessa said in a panicked voice. "I never agreed to anything." Caroline placed her grandfather's will and legal documents on the table. "This house is legally mine alone. Mother's signature is forged, and this sale contract is invalid." Marcus stepped forward. "I am Marcus Cohen, the Bradley family lawyer. Here is a temporary restraining order obtained from the court. This transaction is immediately halted." The room erupted in chaos. The buyer couple wore angry expressions, and Claire stared at the documents with a pale face. "Is this true?" Claire looked at Eleanor. "A forged signature?" Eleanor was at a loss for words. "That's not." "Caroline, this is a family matter." "It's also a legal matter, Mom," Caroline replied calmly. Signature forgery is a crime. The buyer couple exploded in anger. We've wasted our time. We'll contact our lawyer. Claire desperately tried to salvage the situation, but the couple stormed out. But I've already paid the deposit for the wedding. Vanessa cried out. I can't cancel it. Isn't there anything we can do? James said in distress. We need the funds. Caroline responded calmly. I also know that you're millions of dollars in debt, James. You're a fraud. The blood drained from James's face. Vanessa stared at her fiancé with a shocked expression. James, that can't be. Caroline opened the wooden box and showed the valuable collection inside. Grandfather trusted only me in the family. He predicted that Mother and Vanessa might try to take the house, so he left this evidence inside the wall. Eleanor and Vanessa were speechless as they stared at the valuable collection Caroline had taken from the wall. Their scheme had completely fallen apart. I won't press criminal charges against you. A week after the contract was cancelled, Caroline summoned her mother and sister to her home. Eleanor and Vanessa sat tensely on the sofa in the living room. Caroline's expression showed more sadness than anger. I should thank you, Eleanor said in a low voice. I'm the one who should be thankful, Mom, Caroline quietly replied. Thanks to you both, I've learned what I should value and who I should trust. Caroline placed some documents on the table. These are my conditions. If you sign them, I'll let everything go. The documents contained a pledge never to claim rights to Caroline's property again and restrictions on future contact. Are you driving us out of the family? Vanessa teared up. No. A real family respects and trusts each other. That's what was lacking in you both. From that day on, Caroline's relationship with her mother and sister became superficial. It was limited to a few phone calls a year and brief greetings at Thanksgiving. James Weston's fraudulent activities came to light thanks to Caroline's investigation. He was charged with securities fraud, and his engagement to Vanessa was broken off. Vanessa's brilliant career as a social media influencer also took a nosedive due to her fiancé's scandal. She disappeared, claiming to be on a journey to find herself, and eventually began a modest life in a small town in Ohio. Eleanor couldn't bear the cold stares from her friends and retired from society. With her calculating nature beneath her false elegance becoming known to those around her, she moved to a small apartment in Boston. Ironically, Eleanor, who was learning to support herself for the first time, gradually found true strength. Caroline had the grandfather's collection appraised by experts, and its value was determined to be over $6 million. She donated part of the collection to the Boston Museum and wisely invested the rest to establish her own architectural firm, Bradley Innovation. Her passion for eco-design and honest business approach captured the hearts of many clients. She kept her grandfather's house and renovated part of it to open as a community center teaching architecture and art to underprivileged children. This initiative, named the Walter Legacy Program, received great support from the community. On a spring day several years later, Caroline was hosting a barbecue party with friends in the garden. Colleagues from her firm, children from the community center, and various people she had met through architecture had gathered. Laughter and music enveloped the house, and its warmth was far removed from the cold tension of the past. At dusk, Caroline stopped by her grandfather's study and gazed at Walter's photograph on the wall. Thank you, grandfather, she murmured, raising her glass. You taught me more than just the value of a house. You taught me the true meaning of family. Outside the window, her new family was waiting for her. People bound not by blood, but by trust and respect. Caroline smiled and returned to them. When I returned from my business trip, my home had become for sale. That experience would adorn the opening of Caroline's architectural memoir. The book was titled The Truth Within the Walls, Foundations of Architecture and Life. It wasn't just a success story, but a record of her journey overcoming lost trust and building a new foundation for her life.